This message is for the real parents. My wife announced in her viral clip, applauding her ex's father as the ideal dad while ridiculing me as invisible in my own house. 48 hours later, that video revealed a federal witness and ruined everything she ever owned. Have you ever felt betrayal not as a sharp, sudden pain, but as a dull, expanding cold? Like someone opened a freezer inside your chest and forgot to close it? Because that's exactly how it felt the day my wife turned our private life into a public spectacle, using our son, me, and even another man's father as props in her bizarre, twisted YouTube content. And here's the kicker. She filmed it all. It started with a video, 9 minutes long. A masterpiece, she called it. Filmed right there in our backyard, edited to look like some kind of inspirational TED Talk. Shot between our patio furniture and the swing set. It opened with her, my wife, her voice dripping with this honeyed, calculated sweetness, looking straight into the camera. This one, she purred, is for the real parents. The ones who don't just exist in the house like another piece of furniture, but are actually present. Then she turned, a soft smile on her face, towards the old man sitting next to her in a lawn chair. He chuckled warmly, reached out, and ruffled our son's hair. My son laughed, the only real, unscripted sound in the entire video. And that laugh, it gutted me. Because that man, he wasn't my son's father. He wasn't my father. He was her ex-boyfriend's father, a man named Richard, whom I hadn't seen in years. A man who had no business, legal or moral, being around my boy. But there he was, sipping lemonade, nodding like some sage on a low-budget talk show, while my wife gestured to him like a chorus girl in a church sermon. You see, she said, resting her hand on his knee as if he were a trophy she'd dusted off from the attic. This man taught his son what it really means to be a father. It's in the little things, in the way you make your presence matter, not just floating in the background like a ghost during dinner. Then, cue the soft acoustic background music. Cue the slow-motion shot of her and the old man helping my son build a birdhouse. A birdhouse I had pre-cut and left on the workbench just 3 days earlier. The video exploded. 1.1 million views in less than 2 days. The comments flooded in. Women called her brave, honest, a wake-up call for lazy husbands. Some said they cried. One even boasted she'd shown it to her own husband as a warning. I watched it once. Just once. No replaying, no reading comments. I just left the video paused on the frame where she laughed, reaching out to brush an imaginary speck of dust off the old man's shirt. My glass of water was still half full on the counter when I got up. I didn't throw it. I didn't hit anything. I just placed my phone face down and walked out. That feeling, it wasn't just public humiliation. It was the performance of it all. The rehearsed lines, the careful angles, the premeditated lighting. She'd spent hours crafting this, probably weeks. And at some point in that process, not once did she stop and think, maybe I shouldn't weaponize my husband's quiet parenting style in front of a million strangers using another man's father. I know what most of you are probably thinking. What kind of man just watches that and stays quiet? Believe me, I ask myself the same thing. But the truth is, silence isn't always surrender. Sometimes, it's the sound a trap makes before it snaps shut. That night, she proudly played the video on our TV. I didn't say a word. She sat there with her glass of wine, a self-satisfied curl to her lip, her eyes flicking between the screen and my face, waiting for a reaction. I gave her nothing, just raised an eyebrow and said, "Interesting choice of guests." She laughed, tossed her hair back. "Oh, you're not mad, are you? I mean, it's just content. It's not about you." Then she leaned in, her voice dropping, almost a whisper. "Besides, maybe if you had a little more initiative around here, I wouldn't need to bring in guest stars." How lovely. 2 days later, she uploaded a second video. This time, she didn't even warn me. I found out through her sister, who sent me the link and a string of laughing emojis. She had cropped a shot of me sitting quietly in the background during our son's birthday, labeled it Ghost, with the text, "He was there." I didn't watch that one. The next morning, I packed a small bag, dropped our son off at school, and I didn't come back. Not for breakfast. Not for her dramatic text messages. Not for the single voicemail where she said, "Okay, you're really upset. Seriously, grow up." She still thought this was a game, a petty slap fight in front of an audience. But that audience, it was about to change. Because there was something she didn't know about her little co-star, Richard. Something I'd learned 6 years ago during a strange conversation at a hardware store. A detail I never thought would matter again, until now. My silence didn't scare her. Not at first. I stopped talking at home. No arguments. No Cold War declarations. No dramatic exits. Just emotional, verbal, physical absence. The kind that doesn't knock on doors or leave notes. I'd sit across from her at dinner, nod when necessary, chew slowly, listening to her talk about engagement stats as if she were analyzing foreign policy. She liked the numbers. They made her feel smart, important, in control. Babe, we hit 3% engagement in Germany, she gushed one night, sipping her wine. Can you believe it? Germany. I blinked, said nothing, kept chewing. When she finally broke the silence with a smug smile, a tilt of her head. So, no comment on your cameo in part 2. I looked up, shrugged, and mumbled, interesting choice of guests. Her eyes narrowed for an instant, then the mask was back. God, you're so dramatic, she said, rolling her eyes like a sitcom character. It's not a big deal. It's just satire. Grow a thicker skin, or a sense of humor, or both. She chuckled to herself, a dry, humorless laugh, while tapping on her phone, probably replying to another dozen strangers who called her raw, brave, or queen. And then she posted more. Of course, she did. A second video dropped on Wednesday. Bloopers, she called it. The caption, shrug #hash. It was a montage of outtakes, our son tripping over a soccer ball, the old man laughing too hard at something off camera, my wife swatting a mosquito and yelling, cut! But what truly stood out were the edited-in inserts she added between reaction shots. Clips of me, pulled from old home videos and birthday recordings, overlaid with stock audio of crickets and awkward silences. I didn't need to watch the full video to understand her game. She wanted a caricature, a villain, a straw man she could set on fire for content, while people cheered her on for reclaiming her voice. On Thursday morning, I woke up before the alarm, made our son breakfast, toast, banana slices, peanut butter, no crust. He liked the corners cut diagonally, like rockets. She was still asleep when we left. I kissed his head at the school gate, waved as he ran inside, and then I just drove past the car. I didn't go back. No text messages. No GPS breadcrumbs. I'd disabled location tracking 2 nights before, while she was busy in her editing app. Her name popped up on my phone a dozen times before noon. At first, playful, then accusatory, then demanding. Where are you? Are you pouting? Ah, seriously, you're going to ghost your own family over a joke. It wasn't a joke, but I let her believe that. I let her weave her own story, as she always did. One where I was the sullen man-child who couldn't handle a little public criticism. Her favorite narrative. By evening, she switched tactics. Okay, you've made your point. Come home. But I wasn't making a point. I was building distance. Enough for people to start noticing the gaps. The absent presence. The void. That night, she posted a selfie. Just her and our son sitting on the same backyard bench. No caption. Just a heart emoji. But the smiles didn't match. His looked confused. Hers was forced. The comments came in slowly at first. Where's Dad? No cameo this time. And then one that made me pause. Why does the kid look like he's trying to smile for his life? That comment didn't last long. She deleted it. On Friday, she texted me, can we please talk? But she never used the word sorry. Instead, she doubled down. The next day, she posted a story, an overexposed video with a shaky camera and fake tears. I just want to raise my son in peace, she sobbed. I'm doing the best I can, even when I'm mocked. Even when I'm ignored. Mocked. Ignored. It was astounding how quickly she could reframe herself as the victim of the very thing she had orchestrated. Like a magician turning knives into flowers. But she still hadn't realized something very basic. I wasn't the one who had brought the storm. She was. She filmed it, branded it, Monetized it. All I had done was step back and let it run its course. Until then, her version had always been the loudest. But now that I was gone, visibly, physically absent, people started to notice. A few friends texted me. A colleague messaged me. So the video. You okay, man? I didn't respond. Not yet. Because I wasn't hiding. I was watching. And the less I said, the more noise she made trying to fill the silence. The more frantic her edits became. The longer the captions. The tighter she gripped the narrative. She thought I was sulking. Just another weak man whose pride had been wounded. She had no idea that every second I was away was sharpening something in the background. Not rage. Not revenge. Just clarity. And something else she didn't see coming. 3 days without a word, and she still hadn't panicked. Not really. She'd started referring to my disappearance as a man tantrum. That's what she called it when her sister asked where I was during their call. He's just doing his sullen thing to control the narrative. You know how sensitive he gets. Her sister, a professional enabler, laughed, and said something about giving him space to journal it out. Meanwhile, my phone remained off. Not silent. Off. The last signal it sent was from our son's school parking lot. She assumed I'd gone to stay with a friend. Maybe I'd booked a cheap Airbnb to pout and rehearse some dramatic re-entry monologue. But then, the credit cards froze. Not declined. Not maxed out. Frozen. Have first guess? Oh, great. Another financial tantrum. She assumed I was trying to punish her, which was hilarious, considering she had made a global spectacle of my absence in our son's life and called it content. But no, there was no tantrum. The joint account was untouched. It was the personal one. The one with the monthly payments for her editing software and camera gear. The one linked to the PayPal she used for YouTube tips. Declined. Did she text me? No. Instead, she vented to her followers. A new post, late at night, showed her and our son in matching pajamas. The caption read, "Still here, still present, even when others check out. Single mom energy. Get it done." It got 4,700 likes in an hour. Validation. Applause. A few fire emojis from thirsty men who clearly hadn't watched the original video closely enough. Then came the shift. The next morning, her sister called. Not to gossip, not to enable, but to ask, "Have you read the new comments?" She hadn't. She opened the original post, the one with the old man, the bird haze, the lemonade, and scrolled. It started subtly. A few cryptic comments. Is it just me? Oh, is that who I think it is? Then, okay, but seriously, does she know who that guy is? And finally, someone tagged an agency. She scowled, clicked on a few profiles. Most were anonymous, no mutual friends, but they had that tone, that dry, clinical tone that didn't scream internet trolls or fans, more like professionals watching a slow-motion train wreck. She checked her inbox. 5 new messages from people she didn't follow. 2 were just links. One said, "You need to take this down before someone else does." She still didn't get it. She assumed it was cancel culture, mistaken outrage, a coordinated troll campaign. So, she filmed a 15-second reel of herself with a raised eyebrow and fake confusion. Apparently, you can't praise fatherhood anymore without a bunch of men coming out of their caves crying, "The agency this, the agency that." More laughs, more applause. But the comment section kept turning. One post read, "In all seriousness, do you even know the history here?" Another, "Oh no, this is not going to end well." And then someone dropped a name, a real name, not the one her ex's father used. The other one, the one I hadn't heard in years, the one that had been whispered to me in a hardware store, 6 feet from my son's tricycle, by the man himself. It wasn't a confession. It was a warning, one he'd only given because he saw something in my face that night, something he recognized. She didn't recognize it. Not then, not now, but the internet did, because one of the commenters linked to an old cart sketch. It was blurry, scanned from a newspaper clipping buried behind paywalls, but the resemblance was there. You could match the slope of the nose, the angle of the chin, the ears. He was older now, sure, but not unrecognizable. And once that image was out, the tone shifted completely. It wasn't gossip anymore. It was analysis. Threads. Speculation. Someone uploaded a frame-by-frame breakdown of her video, highlighting the moment where he laughs and says something about being invisible your whole life until suddenly you're not. The video paused there, zoomed in. Then someone else posted a quote from a 2007 trial transcript. The same words. The old man's words, verbatim. That is when the panic began to seep in. She tried to control it, of course. Deleted a few comments. Reposted an old video of her and her son at the zoo. Anything to drown it out. But it didn't work. Because now people weren't just looking at her. They were looking at him. And with all her editing genius, she had made sure the camera framed him perfectly. Centered, lit, smiling. And now the question wasn't, where is your husband? It was, why is that man with your son? And underneath that, something colder. What are you hiding? The phone rang at 6:12 a.m. Private number. She almost didn't answer. Assumed it was one of those robocalls about urgent student loan forgiveness. But something in her gut made her slide her thumb to the green button. Maybe it was the silence of the house. The kind of silence that feels like it's waiting for you to do something before it becomes noise again. "Hello? Do you still have the video up?" The voice was sharp, already out of breath. She blinked. "I have a lot of videos. The one with your son and the guest." "Wow. Good morning to you, too. It's up, right? Why wouldn't it be?" She tightened her robe, walked to the fridge with the phone wedged between her ear and shoulder. "It's one of my best performing videos. We're almost at 1.5 million. You need to take it down. Immediately. She paused. The refrigerator door stayed shut. Excuse me, she said. Take it down, now. I don't care how many likes it has. She let out a sharp, bitter laugh. Okay, you're high. I own the content. I created it. I cleared everyone's faces. It violates no platform terms. This is not my first rodeo versus your nervous breakdowns. There was a pause, and then the voice, her lawyer's voice, did something she'd never heard it do before. It broke. Do you have any idea who the father is in that video with your son? That stopped her. My ex is, she said, slower this time. It's just Richard. You met him at the barbecue. He's harmless. The old man likes to tell stories. The kids love him. My son adores him. What the hell is your problem? A beat of silence. That man was placed in federal witness protection 17 years ago. His name is not Richard. His name was changed. His identity was sealed. And he is now trending on TikTok because of you. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. For the first time in months, perhaps years, she was utterly speechless. No, she said quietly, walking backward until she hit the counter. No, that cannot be. True. I've known his family. His son was my boyfriend for 2 years. So, did your ex-boyfriend never tell you the truth, or did he not know either? Or did he lie? It doesn't matter. What matters is this. That man testified in a federal organized crime case. He helped bring down 3 violent syndicates, and he went into hiding. He was wiped from the public record and given a new life. And you filmed him in a wide shot and uploaded him to every platform with your son sitting on his lap. She sat down slowly, the phone still pressed to her ear. Holy hell. Yes, her lawyer whispered. Holy hell. She tried to think, but nothing connected. It made no sense. Richard had always been kind, quiet. He made birdhouses, carried butterscotch candies in his pocket, called all the kids champ or sport. How could that man? But he never said anything, she mumbled, her voice cracking. He never told you because he could not. And now it doesn't matter. You put his face on the internet, and you called it parenting lessons. People are tagging agencies, reporters, federal forums. Do you have any idea the level of exposure you have just caused? You turned witness protection into a reality show. Her brain scrambled for a foothold. Maybe it's just a mix-up. Some guy who looks like him. No, it's not. You tagged your location. There's facial recognition. And you framed him perfectly. You built the entire narrative around his presence. You narrated it. You gave it context. That's the kind of thing federal lawyers use to prove intent. She stood up, moving like she was sleepwalking to the window. The backyard looked exactly as it had in the video. The same bench, the same bird haze, the same sunlight. Okay, she whispered. Okay, I'll delete it. You're not fast enough, her lawyer said coldly. It has already been downloaded, re-uploaded, dissected. There's a frame-by-frame breakdown on Reddit with a comparison of his 2007 caught sketch. You are too late to stop it. But maybe you can cooperate enough now to avoid obstruction charges. I didn't know, she began, but he cut her off. They won't care. The damage is done. The feds are going to ask why a woman with a degree in digital media, married to a man in IT, accidentally doxed a federal witness. They'll assume you knew. Otherwise, they'll think someone paid you to do it. She gripped the edge of the table. Her ex's father wasn't a guest. He was a ghost, dragged into daylight. And her husband, the man she mocked, ignored, dismissed, had vanished just before the storm broke. She whispered, "Where's he?" But her lawyer didn't answer. The line went dead. The delete button gave her nothing. No sense of relief. No damage undone. Just a blinking "Are you sure?" and a brief silence before the platform swallowed the file. She sat at her desk, frozen, still in her robe, half frizzy with stress, as if erasing the video could revise time, like pulling a fire alarm after the building has already collapsed. But within minutes, the damage echoed. A re-upload appeared on Twitter from an account called @parenting_fails. It already had 18,000 views. The caption read, "Deleted by the original creator. I wonder why. #witness protection." She refreshed the page. 21,000. 25,000. She tried to report it. Nothing happened. Another copy appeared on YouTube, then on Reddit, then on TikTok, where someone lip-synced her monologue over footage from a gangster documentary. She didn't cry. Not yet. She just sat still and clicked. One video after another, each more dissected than the last. One channel did a side-by-side comparison, Her backyard bird heist video versus composites of caught sketches from a 2007 grand jury hearing. The resemblance was uncanny. One account had even overlaid the old man's voice from a public deposition over her footage. Perfect match. She called her ex. No answer. She called again, left a voicemail. Hey, listen. I know you probably think I'm being dramatic again, but I really need you to call me back. It's about your dad. Someone said something unbelievable. Just call me, okay? Nothing. She called his number again over the next hour. Still nothing. Then she dialed Richard directly, the man from the video. Disconnected. No voicemail. No busy signal. Just dead air, as if the number had never existed. She checked her contacts. Tried again. Gone. Her hands were shaking. She texted her husband, the man she hadn't heard from in days. The one she imagined was holed up in some friend's guest room, waiting for an apology that was never coming. Still not delivered. Not read. Just a single, taunting grey checkmark. Static on a cold screen. She opened his location tracker. Permission revoked. The panic set in. Real panic. Not the performative kind she used for content. The kind that made sweat run down her back and her heart beat like it was trying to break through her ribs. Our son walked into the room with a juice pouch and said, "Mom, did Grandpa Richard go home yet?" She stared at him, then turned back to the laptop and began to delete everything. Every photo that included Richard. Every blog post. Every behind-the-scenes clip. But for every one she deleted, she found 3 re-uploads floating somewhere else, shared by users she had never heard of. Some with names like @truth_sleuth. Others just anonymous clouds of exposure. She opened her inbox. 10 new messages. The first 3 were from platforms, citing potential terms of service violations under federal investigation. The rest were comments flagged by her own community. Some confused, others hostile. A few just said, "You had no idea, did you?" She was about to throw the phone when another message came through. This time from her lawyer. "They are coming." That was the whole message. Followed by a second, "You will be questioned. Cooperate. Everything depends on it." She blinked. What does everything mean? She read the message again. Again. The silence in the house shifted. It wasn't quiet. It wasn't comforting. It was the kind of silence that follows a wrong answer given too loudly. She tried to text her husband again. "You knew, didn't you?" No reply. Then she did something she hadn't done since they were married. She called his mother. The phone rang twice. Then it clicked. "Hello," she said, desperate, her breath catching. There was a pause. Then the voice on the other end replied, "He is safe. That is all you need to know." It wasn't cold. It wasn't kind. It was final. She stammered. "But, it's our son. You filmed a federal witness with your son and you uploaded it for profit. You mocked his father. You weaponized the silence he gave you." Click. The line went dead. She stayed at the phone, her reflection trembling on the black screen. She was alone. Not figuratively. Not emotionally alone. She had no idea where her husband was. No idea where the old man had gone. And no idea how deep a hole she had just dug herself into. Because this wasn't about views anymore. It wasn't about pride or influence or reclaiming her voice. It was about exposure. The kind that doesn't go viral. It goes classified. The internet had moved on from outrage to autopsy. Every second of her deleted video now lived on in a forensic replay. People weren't just watching it anymore. They were studying it. Frame by frame, timestamp by timestamp. One account called it a masterclass in accidental exposure. Another, less forgiving, titled their re-upload the internet's dumbest crime. It began with the camera angle. Someone noticed the tilt. Subtle. Precise. At first, no one cared. Then a digital forensics YouTuber froze the opening shot and pointed out the composition. The tripod wasn't crooked. The horizon was level. The tilt wasn't an accident. It was a reframe. A deliberate pivot of just a few inches that placed the old man right in the center of the frame, while pushing her slightly off balance. "Look at the shadows," the narrator said. "Someone adjusted this mid-shot. It probably wasn't her. She's holding the kid. That means someone else was behind the camera. Maybe the husband." And that's when the question took root. He knew. He set high up. He wanted this to come out. Within hours, a thread appeared on Reddit. Theory. The husband engineered the takedown. The comments split into 2 camps, Team Betrayed and Team Architect. The first thought I had just snapped under the humiliation. The second called me a silent revenge genius. One commenter wrote, "He's been gone 3 days. Phone off. Bank account sealed. And this just happens to leak? Please. The guy played her." Another posted, "Look at the tilt. It's a cinematographer's revenge. He knew exactly who that man was. She tried to fight it, logged into every platform she still had access to, posting frantic denials between half-written apologies. My husband did not edit this. He does not even touch my content, she wrote. He is not involved in any of this mess. But the internet didn't believe her. Someone uploaded the raw metadata from the original file. The timestamps showed minor edits made days before the post. Small color corrections, contrast adjustments, metadata logs that listed an unfamiliar device name, HS Studio Backup 1. Not her laptop, mine. The speculation metastasized overnight. Commenters pulled screenshots of old family blogs where I had joked that the lighting was always bad, that the angles tell the truth. They called it foreshadowing. Others started dissecting our marriage like an ongoing case study. Podcasts debated whether my silence was hurt, guilt, or precision. The quietest account, the one that really shook her, was from someone claiming to be a former contractor for the Witness Protection Division. The comment was simple. He did not expose him. He framed him to reveal who broke protocol. Then came the video. It appeared on a dark legal archives forum. Grainy, muffled audio, a moving caught sketch. The title, Closed Session, 2007, Exhibit C14, Partial Deposition. There he was, the same man, younger, thinner, the same nervous blink, his voice identical to the one laughing in her backyard. He was testifying under oath, rattling off details of wire transfers and shell corporations, and a name that was later redacted in the transcript. The moderator's voice boomed, distorted, identity sealed per federal protection statutes. The video faded, replaced with a simple note. This content was never intended for public access. It didn't matter. The damage was already irreversible. She replayed that video 10 times, her breath catching each time his profile came into view. The same jawline, the same scar near his eye. Even the way he adjusted his collar mid-sentence was identical to how he had done it in her video, just before he smiled at our son. She whispered to herself, he told me he was just retired. But now, retirement looked like a reinvention. Everywhere she looked, the questions stared back at her from the comment sections, the headlines, even the DMs from people she didn't know. Who is really behind the camera? The silence that had once been her husband's weakness now looked like orchestration. She started hearing phantom vibrations, checking her phone every few seconds, even when it was quiet. Every buzz felt like a subpoena. Every click, a recording. One night, she unplugged the Wi-Fi and still swore she could hear the echo of notifications throughout the house. She tried to sleep, but her mind replayed the last thing I had said to her before I disappeared. Interesting choice of guests. At the time, it sounded passive. Now it felt surgical. Because maybe I hadn't stormed out at all. Maybe I had just stepped aside to let the truth walk in on its own. And now, for the first time in her life, she was afraid of the silence. Not because it meant nothing was happening, but because it meant everything was. She told herself it was just a conversation, a face-to-face, a chance to clear the fog and remind them who she really was. She dressed carefully that morning, something understated, neutral. No makeup, no phone out, no vlogging camera. Just her, our son, and the hope that someone would finally see her side of it before the story solidified into stone. The drive to my in-laws' house felt longer than usual, though she'd made it 100 times before. Their home always had that overly quiet, suburban stillness. A place that smelled of lemon cleaner and old paperbacks. A place where no one raised their voice. Our son played with a stress ball in the back seat. She watched him in the mirror. He didn't ask where they were going. He just squeezed the ball as if he were preparing for something he couldn't name. When they turned onto the cul-de-sac, she saw the blinds twitch. Someone had already seen her. She didn't knock right away. She just stood on the porch with our son and inhaled, as if trying to remember what peace smelled like. Then she rang the bell. Footsteps. A pause. The door opened just a crack, just an eye visible through the narrow sliver of light. It was my mother, my real mother. Her voice was low, firm. He is safe, she said. That was all. No greeting. No questions. I know, my wife replied. I figured he might be here. I just want to talk. Maybe with him. Maybe with you. Look, I know things got out of hand, but I didn't know. You didn't ask to know. That stopped her. I made a mistake, she said. I panicked. I'm not proud of the video. I took it down. I've tried. You tried after you monetised it. After your reels went viral. After you let people share it. After you turned your son into a chess piece. My mother's voice was still calm. That made it worse. I didn't mean to. You didn't care to have any intention. You just filmed what looked good, and now he is in hiding. Your son is confused. And my phone has rung every night this week with agencies asking if we have been harboring fugitives. Because of you. I'm still his mother, she said, desperate. Now, you can't just cut me out. He needs me. That's when the door opened another half-inch, enough to see my mother's full face. And what she saw wasn't hatred. It was fear. You are the woman who made him collateral damage in a federal security breach, she said quietly. Her voice broke only once, not with emotion, but with finality. And then the door closed gently, deliberately. No slam, no shout, just the silent click of a deadbolt sliding into place. She stood there for a full minute. Then she knocked again, more weakly. Nothing. She tried the handle. Locked. She called again. Please. Our son looked at her, his eyes wide, confused, waiting for this to make sense. But nothing made sense anymore. She sat down on the porch steps, shivering, heart empty. Not with guilt. She hadn't gotten to guilt yet. She was still in disbelief. How quickly it had all evaporated. The home, the marriage, the applause, even the idea of forgiveness. She texted me again. They are not letting me in. Please just talk to me. Please. No reply. Not delivered. She didn't even know if I could see her messages anymore, or if the silence now had legal teeth behind it. The door didn't open again. No curtains twitched. No face peeked out. She wasn't dangerous. She wasn't malicious. She just hadn't thought it through. And that, in the world I had built, was enough to make her radioactive, even to the people who once called her family. The envelope wasn't sealed with anything dramatic. No red ink. No government seal. Just her name, cleanly printed like any other letter. It arrived tucked between a utility bill and a local pizza flyer. So innocuous, she almost tossed it aside. But the return address made her hand pause. A law firm she didn't recognize. One that wasn't in her contacts. She opened it on the kitchen counter. She didn't breathe again for minutes. Inside was a single manila folder. No note. No handwritten anything. Just cold, typed paper, stapled in perfect order, legally margined to the millimeter. Custody petition filed under emergency motion. She scanned it in pieces, her brain struggling to make sense of the language. Petitioner, name redacted here, my name. Respondent, herself. Minor child, our son. Cause, endangerment to national security, psychological risk, breach of prior federal agreements. She blinked, reread, still couldn't comprehend. There were exhibits. A screenshot of the original video, the one with the old man laughing next to our son. A second photo, a Reddit thread showing the reach of her monetized videos. A third, her own comment under a post. The one that said, real parenting is on camera. Flex biceps. No _ excuses. Then came the affidavit. Signed. Sealed. Filed by, redacted. Title, Department of Justice. Subject, misuse of digital platform resulting in the exposure of a protected witness, endangerment of a minor, breach of known restrictions, obstruction by dissemination. Her hands were shaking as she turned to the next page. There was a highlighted clause from an old agreement she barely remembered signing. Something from early in our marriage, when I was onboarding for a federal subcontractor job. She'd skimmed it. I'd asked her to sign a general NDA because my work involved access to sensitive data. She had signed it while pouring wine and browsing Pinterest. Now, that clause 6.3b was in bold print. Violation of confidentiality terms by spousal disclosure, direct or indirect, will be considered a federal breach subject to review by the U.S. Attorney's Office. The irony was almost surgical. She hadn't screamed. She hadn't cheated. She hadn't run off to Vegas with a yoga instructor. She filmed a video. She posted a joke. She let the internet cheer her on. And now this. No custody. No timesheet. Not even supervised visits without federal clearance. Her lawyer texted her an hour later. One line, do not fight this. You will lose. She texted back. He wouldn't go through with this, would he? No reply, because the letter was the going through with it. It was more final than any slammed door. More lethal than any fight. I hadn't raised my voice. I hadn't made a scene. I had just handed her the rope and let her tie the knot. Her hands finally stopped shaking when she saw the last exhibit. A list of URLs. Dozens of links. Videos. Comment channels. Reaction clips. Podcasts. Memes. Side-by-side comparisons. All the proof that the world didn't just see the video. It processed it, indexed it, turned it into legal oxygen. And every view counted against her. Every laugh was now evidence. Every like was a tally on the wrong side of the custody ledger. She put the papers back in the envelope with the precision of someone folding a flag at a funeral. Our son was at school. I was off the grid. The internet was still noisy, but the silence inside her house now felt like a sentence. No more narratives. No more reclaiming her voice. Because now her voice had been entered into the court record, cited, sealed, used against her, and she had nothing left to say. They didn't knock on her door. They didn't need to. By the time the official letter had worked its way across her kitchen counter, the world had already decided what she was. The email came first. Not from a friend. Not from her lawyer. Not even from my side. But from a subscriber. An anonymous one. Subject: they are talking about you in Congress. The body was a single sentence: you made the floor today. Attached was a blurry clip from C-SPAN. She opened it. A congressional hearing on digital privacy. A young staffer, young enough to wear his nervousness like cologne, held up a screenshot. Has screenshot. The one from the backyard video, paused on the moment our son laughs and Richard reaches for the lemonade. An ongoing investigation is examining how a viral content creator, knowingly or unknowingly, compromised a sealed federal witness through Monet's posts involving a minor, the staffer said, looking down at his prepared notes. We are exploring legal liability for those who use platforms for personal gain without vetting the collateral damage. Collateral damage. That's what she was now. Not a mother. Not a creator. Not even a person. She was a precedent. The clip jumped to a panel guest. Some expert from a university with 3 last names and a smugness you could hear through the microphone. This is what happens, he said, when digital narcissism outpaces legal literacy. She did not just expose a protected identity. She endangered a lineage. The bloodline of a man who left everything behind to testify, broadcasted for clicks. The next email came minutes later. Subject: termination of brand partnership. It wasn't angry. It was brief, polite, sterile. Due to recent events and media coverage, we are terminating all active and pending agreements. Effective immediately. Please remove our logo and sponsored links from all your platforms by end of day. No further payments will be processed. She refreshed her browser. 2 more fell. Then 3. Then 5. They were all gone overnight. All her sponsored income vanished. Makeup brands, nutritional supplements, a boutique shoe company she hadn't even posted the unboxing for yet. Gone. When she opened her banking app to check the business account, it was locked. Unusual activity. Under federal review. Contact support. She didn't. She couldn't. Because the headlines had already done the damage. They weren't even sensational. They didn't need to be. They were clinical. Influencer linked to federal breach faces custody battle. Viral video mom sparks privacy debate. Digital ego versus real-world consequences. She turned off her phone and stared at the blank screen, as if it could absorb the noise. She drew the living room blinds, turned off her Wi-Fi, unplugged the Alexa, didn't open any apps. Every vibration felt like a pulse of dread. Every notification sounded like a judgment. She stopped opening her email, stopped answering the door, stopped filming. And still, it didn't stop. A podcast she had never heard of featured her name in the title, The Mother Who Filmed Too Much. She listened in the dark, the volume turned low, as the host dissected her downfall like a morality lesson. Some people use the internet to heal, others to build. But then you have people like this, who use their platform as a weapon, who airbrush reality and think the world won't look back. She did not just record a man. She recorded a history that was supposed to stay buried, and she dragged her son into it for the views. Then the guest said it, the sentence that cut deeper than anything the courts had filed. She did not break the rules to protect her son. She broke them to punish her husband. It echoed. She whispered, that's not what happened. But no one was listening. The world had moved on. Only she was still here, pressed against the glass of her own life, watching it rot in real time. She thought about running, about disappearing. But there was nowhere to go where the video hadn't already reached. Her face was cached, her voice remixed. Her son's laugh a clip someone used in a TikTok about the cost of online fame. And the worst part, she had nothing left to post. Nothing to prove. Nothing anyone wanted to hear. Just silence. And the sound of a door slamming shut. Not once, but again and again, in every direction she turned. The courtroom video was not supposed to be public. It leaked the way all things do now. A frame at a time. Pixelated at first, then enhanced and subtitled by strangers who knew how to pull clarity from chaos. It was a split screen. One half showed the judge, the other fixed on the man standing at the witness table. Me, her husband. No suit, no anger. Just that unsettling calm that had followed me out the door weeks ago and had never looked back. The video started mid-sentence, already in motion. I did not expose anyone. My voice was steady, as if reciting a weather report. She broadcasted him to the world. I just let the world recognize him. The camera shifted slightly, catching the rustle of papers, the movement of lawyers, the flash of a Department of Justice badge at the edge of the frame. Then the judge's voice, raspy, indecipherable, in the matter of the custody of the minor child. The court finds that the respondent's actions have resulted in the irreparable exposure of a federal asset, endangering said minor, and violating pre-existing protection agreements. Her name was read aloud, tonelessly, like something being crossed off a list. Custody is awarded to the father. Visitation is suspended pending a full federal review. This is not a punishment. It is a necessary precaution. That sentence, "it is not a punishment," landed heavier than any verdict she had imagined, because it meant there wasn't even enough outrage left to call it revenge. It was a routine procedure now, sanitized. Then the camera turned to her. She hadn't expected that part. She thought the video would cut, would fade, leaving her a ghost behind someone else's narrative. But no, there she was, captured mid-blink, lips slightly parted. She looked like someone waking up in the middle of a fire, not from the heat, but from the silence that came before the smoke. No one touched her, no one shouted, no one offered a tissue or whispered apology. The court officer didn't even look at her as he opened the side door. That's when he walked in. The old man from the backyard video, the one who had sipped lemonade, the one who had laughed with our son, the one who nodded like a wise grandfather in a low-budget family drama. He walked in quietly. No cuffs, no guards, just papers in one hand and something else in the other. Our son's hand. The boy walked beside him as if it were the most natural thing in the world. As if it were Tuesday. As if everything hadn't exploded weeks ago. As if he hadn't been the reason for a digital firestorm, or custody hearing, or an investigation that now had his name etched into legal reports forever. They walked past her without stopping. Our son looked up at the old man and whispered something inaudible. The old man nodded once, then placed his hand gently on the boy's shoulder. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just stood there, the courtroom buzzing around her, every sentence fading like muffled audio underwater. All she could hear, all she could feel, was that gesture. A hand, a shoulder, a goodbye that no one said. The camera cut again. Final frame. Me, walking down the courthouse steps. No cameras chasing me. No reporters in sight. Just a still shot captured by a blurry passerby. Grainy. Real. With a caption from someone who didn't know us, but knew enough. The man who said nothing and saw everything. And with that, the last video ended. She refreshed the page once. Twice. The comments were already flooding in. This was not revenge. It was containment. She thought she was posting content. He built a case. That man played chess in a world full of TikToks. But the one that stuck in her mind all night. Just 4 words. She filmed her own ending, this whole thing. It makes you wonder. How far is too far for online validation? And what about the silence? Sometimes it speaks louder than any scream. What do you guys think? Was I a monster for letting this happen? Or was this the only way to escape? I really want to hear your thoughts in the comments below.